This is the heartbreaking story of a promising young man who left the shore of his homeland in pursuit of better life, only to unknowingly paying the price of a crime he did not commit. One day, this young man was found in possession of 100 capsules of unknown substances. He was supposed to deliver them to someone in exchange for a reward of $2,000. When he was apprehended by the police, he claimed they were capsules containing Africa herbs that would give energy when consumed. To prove they were harmless, he took one of the capsules and swallowed it, but was immediately rushed to the hospital, where he was given a laxative to flush it out. Unfortunately for him, the police did not buy his story. Instead, they contacted the Central Narcotics Bureau to analyze the contents of capsules. When the CNB official arrived, the court opened the capsule and discovered it was something else entirely. This young man's name was Tochi, and he was a Nigerian footballer who, while trying to advance his career, decided to move overseas in search of greener pasture. From a very young age, he had dreamed of becoming a football player. It was his passion and a means of escaping the poor life he was raised in and bringing his family out of poverty. Tochi began his career by playing for Nigeria in the West African Coca-Cola Cup Championship held in Senegal. From there, he was able to send part of his wages back home to his family to relieve them of the hard times. In an effort to advance his career and get better opportunities, Tochi decided to relocate to Dubai, believing the city would help him achieve his goals. However, the cost of a flight to Dubai was too expensive for him. Desperate, he opted for a cheaper alternative. He decided to fly to Pakistan and from there secure a visa and ride a train to Dubai. But upon arriving in Pakistan, he got to discover no such train route existed. Stranded and not knowing what else to do, he found the church in Islamabad, Pakistan, and sought help where he was granted refuge. It was in this church that he met another Nigerian named Smith, who offered to help him reach Dubai and change his life forever. Smith provided Tochi with food and money and even tried helping him secure a visa to Dubai, but all efforts to obtain the visa failed as Tochi did not meet the visa requirement. Seeing no other options, Smith proposed Tochi an alternative. He asked if Tochi could help him deliver some African herbs to his sick friend, Malaki, who would be meeting him in Singapore. From there, he could continue his football career by applying for trials at various clubs. Not only that, Tochi would be rewarded with $2,000 upon successfully delivering the herbs to Malaki. Seeing this as a reasonable deal and an opportunity to get out of Pakistan, Tochi took the offer and left for Singapore without delay. On November 27, 2004, Tochi arrived at Changi Airport in Singapore, where he was to meet Malaki, who was flying in from Indonesia. However, minutes turned to hours, but Malaki failed to show up. After waiting in the airport lodge for hours, Tochi received a call from Smith, who informed him Malaki would be arriving very late as he had missed his flight. Hearing this, Tochi decided to book a room at the Ambassador Transit Hotel to wait for Malaki, but to his disappointment, there was no room available, so he decided to wait until one became free. By the time a room was available, Tochi had already spent more than 24 hours in the transit area. As per procedure, the receptionist alerted the police about someone who had spent over 24 hours in transit area. When the police arrived, they questioned Tochi, who explained his current situation and also explained he was required to have $2,000 before he could be allowed into Singapore, which he did not have at that moment. He also used the opportunity to request to speak with the Football Federation for assistance in playing for any of the clubs there. The officer, finding no problem with Tochi's request, proceeded to search Tochi's belongings and found in his bag a container with about 100 capsules. The officer asked Tochi what the capsules were, and he replied that they were energy-giving African herbs, just as he was told. To prove the herbs were harmless, he took one and swallowed it. He was immediately rushed to the hospital, where he was given laxative to flush out the herb it took. Tochi was taken back to the hotel and asked to place a call to Smith. Smith, unaware that the matter had informed the police, confirmed that Malaki was already in Singapore and was waiting for him near a cafe. Upon this revelation, the police instantly went to the said location and arrested Malaki. This was when it dawned upon Tochi that he was in serious trouble. Officers from the Singapore Central Narcotics Bureau infected at the hotel and cut open the capsules, only to discover that they contained more than 300 grams of heroin. According to the law in Singapore, anyone found in possession of more than 2 grams of heroin is considered a drug trafficker. When Tochi sensed he was in serious trouble with the Singaporean authorities, he immediately placed a call to his brother in Nigeria and informed him of his predicament. Tochi was then detained and made to face the panel. In March 2005, Tochi's trial began. His defense tried to establish his innocence by arguing that Tochi could not have been known that the capsule contained heroin. If he had known, he wouldn't have stayed in transit for more than 24 hours. Additionally, he would not have remained in transit after hearing from the receptionist that the police had been notified of his long presence in the area. His defense also argued that if Tochi knew what was in the capsule, he wouldn't have swallowed one to prove they were African herbs. He believed it was African herbs as he was told, unknown to him it was heroin. The judge agreed with the defense, stating there was no direct evidence to prove Tochi knew what the capsule contained except what he had been told. However, the judge blamed Tochi for his situation and said Tochi should have known something suspicious was going on when he was promised $2,000 for the delivery. Adding to his problem, Smith had arranged for first visa and endorsement to be entered into Tochi's passport while he was processing his visa to Singapore to facilitate his travels. The judge claimed Tochi should have thought Smith was offering more than reasonable and should have suspected something was going on. He also said Tochi should have asked to be shown the contents of the capsule before taking them from Smith, or he could have checked them himself with the time he had to confirm the content, but he did nothing. The judge concluded that Tochi was no longer a young person as he was already an adult who left his own country to fend for himself in Senegal before trying to move to Dubai. In the end, the judge rejected his defense. Malaki, on the other hand, tried to defend himself by claiming he knew neither Tochi or Smith. He claimed he was in Singapore for business, buying used vehicles to sell in South Africa. However, the judge did not accept his excuse as it was revealed that his South African document was forged. Eventually, Tochi alongside Malaki was ordered to be executed. A few days before the execution, Tochi's family in Nigeria received a letter granting them an extended 3 days visiting period to spend their last moment with Tochi. However, this meant almost nothing to them as they could not afford to fly to Singapore. On Friday, January 27, 2007, just before 6 a.m., Tochi was executed alongside Malaki. He was buried at the Changi Cemetery after a simple funeral service. Meanwhile, up to today, Smith has not been found. Dear viewers, this is the tragic end of a young man who, in charge of a greener pastures, ignorantly fell into and ultimately death, paying the price for a crime he did not commit. All he did was make the simple mistake of trusting a wrong person. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video and share the video. Thanks.